So I exported the files as you can see here. The first one is mechanical, and because the process took so long, I had to stop it in the middle and then continue. And as you can see, we have the structural file here. Now, if you right click and select open and unload on either of these two, it automatically opens them up. You can open up the mechanics and the structural and then get the exports from them using the method that I showed you. But for now, we'll go over here and open up the Navisworks, close this window, and then from up here, I'll open up the first file. I'll paste the directory which we've saved the file into over here in the Navisworks folder. The file type that we get from the exports of Navisworks is NWC, so I'll find it in the menu here and select it. Then I'll select the structure file as our base and open this up. Then from the viewpoint tab, I'll put the realistic settings on shaded so it's lighter. Then from the view tab, I'll uncheck the show grid option as well so it's not too crowded. Then from the home tab, I'll select the append tool, select the architecture file and open it up. Then we'll just wait for it to load up into the project. All right. After that, we can do the same for the mechanic file as well. So select the append tool and then open up the mechanical file. Now they're inserted on top of each other, and the insertion is done carefully because they had the same coordinates. If you select the selection tree, this menu opens up and we can pin it over here and put this on standard settings. And you can see the list of all three files over here. I'll select the mechanical file and hide it temporarily for now. And now you can see the structural and mechanical files over here. After we're done with the model itself, we'll talk about the clashes in more detail. But first, I should state some general points about it, because the process itself has a set of steps. We'll need to create a clash matrix and progress based on that. So I'll select the Clash Detective tool and then click on Add Test on the window that opens up. Here we'll have to assign a name for it, for example str and mech. Then we can select the structural and the mechanical files in the selection A and the selection B. And using the hard type and the tolerance will be 0.1. It might be too much, so we'll put it on 2 centimeters. Then I'll hit run test and it identifies any point which has a clash. So now you can see up here we have about 1137 clashes. Although you should take into account the fact that it takes the floors as clashes as well, but they aren't really clashes. And the space here is reserved for dogs, but it's filled with voids for now. And instances like these that you can see on the left aren't actually clashes. But this one where we have the beam is an actual clash. This is exactly intruding inside of the beam. Although this is actually type accessories, and we could have actually isolated these two by first going to the mechanical section and selecting one of these switch pipes and selecting one of these bends and one of these three ways, and then from up here we can click on the same name option. Now this selects all of the groups that are under the same type in the plan, and then we can hit run test. Alright, deselect, and now the number of clashes is reduced to 641. Alright, now let's go back to the structure file itself. And now we only want to have the beams and the columns. So I'll select this and the stairs as well. And then click on the select type option. Select this one first as well. And then same name because they have different types. And then let's rotate the plan to see what else we have. And then I'll select the foundation as well. Then I'll click on this option on the left so that they will be in this selection A, and then we can run test. Now the number is reduced to 13 clashes only. So in reality, we only have 13 real clashes. Now here, the sewage pipe needs to move and it's an actual clash. And this one, let's rotate and zoom out to see this part is inside of the beam. These parts need to move and the issues need to be resolved. The next one, this one needs to move down as well. And this one needs to be changed as well. And as you can see, almost all of the clashes are very minor, and this one as well. And overall, 13 clashes only is an extremely good number for us. But if you actually remember, we had a lot of clashes in the architecture file. Most of these about the sewage pipes in the underground on the first and second floors. The ceiling has moved lower and this needs to be resolved. We need to consult the architect and the designer and then resolve the issues. And so we can resolve the issues that we find in the Navisworks in the Revit file. Now one method is selecting this piece and right-clicking on it and hitting switch back. If you remember the box that we had under the performance section and the closed NWG, that box caused the switch back to be on. So I'll click here and then we get this message. It's nothing unusual, so we need to go to the Revit file where we can see the Navisworks and the switchback options appear here. I'll click on this so we can turn it on and then we can return to the Navis. Right click on the piece and then select switchback, and this opens up the piece automatically in the Revit file and it tells us where it's located. And now we can resolve it here and then switch back once again. But this process may take a lot of time. It's actually this part over here and it's not showing because we've turned off the structure. We usually need to turn off the structure and then we can reload, and that's why it's off. So then I'll go over here and hit reload on the structure. And why did we say we can't do this? Because as you probably saw here, the process of switchback between the Navisworks and the Revit file may take from 5 to 30 minutes depending on the scale of the file size. If I want to go through this process, all of my time will be consumed by the transportation of the file. And because of this, in the beginning of the MEP explanations, we talked about the BCF format. Or when we progress further, we'll learn how to do this using the dynamo by selecting all of the collisions and then resolving them here and selecting the group of the clashes all together, not going back and forth between each one. And as you can see here, we'll need to resolve this clash and this one behind it as well. These are issues which we'll need to assess in the Navisworks. So now I'll create a new test here by selecting the Add Test option, and this time we can check the mechanical file with itself by first going into the plan here and selecting the pipes. So click on the same type option from the selection tree and then click on this and this one in the section B as well. Then we can run tests to see if there are any clashes between these, and the result is none, so the sewage doesn't have any clashes with itself, which is great, and this is one of the things that we need to check each time. And if there are any clashes, we'll need to resolve them. But for now, we'll complete the plan and then talk about Navisworks